The camera panned across a buzzing live audience in Los Angeles. The set was brightly lit, with the unmistakable energy of a popular primetime talk show. Viewers at home were expecting the usual blend of humor and biting political commentary. The host, Alex Brooks, a well-known liberal figure with a reputation for grilling his guests, was seated confidently, his polished grin framed by the studio lights. Tonight's show was supposed to be like any other, until it wasn't. "And now," Alex began, his tone carrying a hint of mischief, "we have a very special guest. Someone you'd never guess would set foot on this stage." The crowd murmured, curiosity rippling through the room. Then, as if orchestrated for maximum impact, Donald Trump emerged from backstage, dressed in his signature dark suit and red tie. His posture exuded confidence and authority. The audience gasped, caught off guard by the unannounced appearance. Some clapped hesitantly, while others exchanged puzzled glances. Alex himself seemed momentarily thrown off, though he quickly masked it with his signature smirk. Trump approached the host's chair with his usual swagger. "Thank you for having me," he said, his voice booming and deliberate. The audience's reaction was a mix of intrigue and skepticism, setting the tone for what would become an unforgettable night. The stage was set, but no one, not even Alex, could predict what was about to unfold. The interview began predictably enough, with Alex maintaining his usual charm. He leaned back in his chair, crossing one leg over the other, and offered Trump a polite smile. "So, Donald, it's been quite a journey for you since your time in the White House. What's life like now?" Trump met his gaze without hesitation. "Life is fantastic," he replied, his voice steady. "I focus on my businesses, my family, and of course, making America great again. Always working, always winning." Alex nodded, but his eyes glimmered with a trace of mischief. He wasn't here to offer an easy conversation, and everyone in the audience knew it. Still, Trump's confident demeanor seemed to disarm him, at least for a moment. The crowd listened intently as Trump spoke about his post-presidency ventures, from his business empire to his ongoing political influence. "Interesting," Alex said after a pause. "But let's be honest. Many people have criticized you for your controversial statements and actions during your time as president. How do you respond to that?" The room seemed to hold its breath, anticipating how Trump would handle the pointed question. Trump, however, remained composed, leaning forward slightly in his chair. "Look," he began, his tone firm. "I've always been a straight shooter. People love me for telling it like it is. The fake news media twists my words, but my supporters know the truth. I've done more for this country than any other president, and history will remember that." There was a subtle shift in the atmosphere. Alex leaned forward slightly, his expression sharpening. It was clear he intended to push harder, but the tension thickened when Alex brought up the topic no one expected him to address. Alex's smirk widened as he tapped his pen against the armrest. "Straight shooter, huh? Interesting. But don't you think some of your statements have created division, especially when the stakes are so high?" His tone had shifted, carrying a subtle edge, as though he was testing the waters before diving deeper. Trump tilted his head slightly, his expression unreadable. "Division has always existed," he said finally, his voice as confident as ever. "Blaming me for it is easy, but it doesn't solve the problem. I'm about action, not talk. I built a great economy, secured the border, and put America first. That's what matters." The audience murmured in response. Alex seemed momentarily taken aback, but he quickly regrouped. "Fair point," he conceded. "But speaking of action, there are rumors, controversies, things people want to hear from you directly. For example, your relationship with the media. You've called them the enemy of the people. Do you stand by that?" The room erupted in a collective gasp. The air felt heavy as the line of questioning veered into deeply contentious territory. Trump's expression didn't change, but there was a flicker in his eyes. a spark that suggested he was ready for this. What came next turned the conversation into something no one could have anticipated. Alex leaned in, his voice lowering just enough to make the moment feel intimate yet charged. Let's address the elephant in the room, Donald. Many have questioned your approach to leadership, your rhetoric, and even your relationship with the truth. Are you here to set the record straight? The audience sat on the edge of their seats, some whispering among themselves. This was the moment they'd been waiting for. A confrontation that promised fireworks. Alex's smirk grew, sensing he was about to corner his guest. Trump, however, didn't take the bait. Instead, he straightened his posture, his face calm but commanding. "I'm here to speak for myself," he said firmly, his voice carrying a familiar sharpness. "Not for the fake news, not for the haters, and not for people who don't understand what it takes to lead. I know who I am, and I know what I've accomplished. The rest is just noise." The crowd fell silent, absorbing the weight of his words. Even Alex, the seasoned host known for his quick wit, seemed momentarily at a loss for how to respond. His smirk faltered, replaced by something resembling genuine surprise. Trump's gaze swept the audience. "It's easy to criticize from the sidelines," he added, his words deliberate. "But it's harder to get in the arena and actually do something. I've been in the arena. I've taken the hits. And I've won." The room erupted into applause, some rising to their feet. Alex, still recovering, attempted to regain control. "Well," he stammered, "that's quite a perspective. But surely you understand why people feel—" Trump cut him off with a small, polite smile. "I understand more than you think," he said. The applause grew louder, but Alex wasn't done yet, and his next move raised the stakes even higher. Alex leaned forward, his pen now resting forgotten in his hand. His voice took on a sharper tone, one that seemed to dare Trump to falter. "You know, Donald, there's something people have always been curious about. How do you reconcile your platform of America First with some of the more, let's say, controversial statements you've made? Statements that many say divided the nation." The room fell into an uneasy quiet, all eyes darting between Alex and Trump. It was the kind of question designed to corner someone, to put them on the defensive. The audience braced themselves, expecting either a deflection or an outburst. But Trump, ever confident, didn't miss a beat. "People see what they want to see," he began, his expression calm yet firm. "My platform has always been about putting America first. Jobs, security, prosperity. I can't control how people interpret my words, but I can control my actions. And my actions have delivered results." Alex raised an eyebrow, clearly unimpressed by what he perceived as a vague response. "But surely," he pressed, "there were moments when you could have chosen your words more carefully. Moments when a different approach might have united people instead of dividing them." Trump's eyes narrowed just slightly, his voice cutting through the interruption. "Unity isn't about saying what everyone wants to hear," he said. "It's about doing what's right for the country, even when it's not popular. I've always been about results, not rhetoric." The audience broke into applause, some even cheering. Alex, momentarily stunned, seemed unsure how to proceed. But his hesitation was brief. He leaned back, offering a small laugh as though to regain his footing. "Fair enough," he said. "But let's not ignore the fact that words matter. They can inspire, or they can incite." Trump tilted his head, his expression cool but with a glint of something sharper. "And actions matter more," he countered, his tone even but resolute. "I've delivered more than any other president. That's what history will remember." The room erupted, the energy now electrified as the audience reacted with a mix of shock and admiration. Alex's face shifted, his confidence visibly wavering. This wasn't going as he had planned. But the moment that truly silenced the room was still to come. Alex adjusted his tie, clearly searching for a way to regain control of the conversation. The tension in the room was thick, every word feeling like it carried the weight of the world. Finally, he leaned forward and delivered the question that no one thought he would dare to ask. "Donald," he began, his tone deliberately measured, "do you ever regret the way you've handled your presidency? The controversies, the division. Do you ever look back and think, maybe I could have done that differently?" A collective gasp echoed through the audience. Even the crew behind the cameras seemed stunned, their movements momentarily pausing. The question was not just bold, it was deeply personal. All eyes turned to Trump, waiting for his reaction. For a moment, he didn't respond. He sat still, his expression unreadable. The silence stretched just long enough to make everyone uncomfortable, including Alex. Then he spoke, his voice calm but piercing. "Regret is for people who don't take responsibility for their choices," he said. "I know who I am. I know what I've done, and I stand by it. Not because it's easy, but because it's right. I've made tough decisions, and I've made them for the American people." The audience erupted into applause, louder and more unified than before. Some people stood, clapping with admiration. Alex blinked, his composure cracking for the first time that evening. He opened his mouth to speak, but Trump wasn't done. "We live in a world where it's easy to criticize from the sidelines," he continued, his tone unwavering. "But the truth is, you can't understand leadership unless you've been in the hot seat. And I've been there. I've taken the heat. And I've delivered. That's what matters." The applause grew deafening, the crowd clearly siding with him. Alex leaned back in his chair, visibly humbled. His earlier bravado was nowhere to be seen. But what happened after the cameras stopped rolling was even more surprising. As the cameras cut to commercial, the studio audience buzzed with chatter, a mix of awe and disbelief. Trump had not only held his own against Alex's relentless questioning, he had turned the tables entirely. The show's producers scrambled behind the scenes, some furiously typing notes, others muttering into headsets about the segment's viral potential. Meanwhile, on stage, Alex leaned over to Trump, his earlier confidence replaced by something more subdued. "I'll admit," he said with a half smile, "I didn't expect you to handle that so gracefully." Trump regarded him with a polite smile, his tone measured. "I don't play games, Alex. I speak the truth, and that's enough." The comment hung in the air. Alex, caught off guard by his sincerity, the once commanding host now seemed almost apologetic. "Fair enough," he muttered, offering a nod of respect. Backstage, staff members and guests whispered as Trump passed by, his presence commanding attention. Some were eager to compliment his composure. Others were simply stunned by his ability to dominate the conversation without losing his cool. He thanked them graciously, but didn't linger. As he exited the building, a crowd of reporters and photographers had already gathered outside. Questions flew from all directions. "Donald, do you think Alex went too far? Were you prepared for this interview? Do you have anything else to say?" Trump paused briefly, turning to face the flashing cameras. "I said what needed to be said," he stated simply. "Nothing more." Then, without another word, he stepped into his car, leaving the crowd buzzing in his wake. By the next morning, his words had sparked a nationwide debate that no one could ignore. By dawn, clips of the interview had spread like wildfire across social media. Hashtags like #TrumpSpeaks and #TrumpVSalex were trending worldwide. People on both sides of the political spectrum chimed in, dissecting every word, every gesture, every nuance of the exchange. Cable news networks replayed the moment on a loop, with pundits arguing over whether Alex had crossed a line or if Trump's responses were a masterclass in confidence under pressure. Some called him unshakable and commanding. Others claimed he had sidestepped accountability. Regardless of opinion, one fact was undeniable. He had captivated the nation. The debates weren't confined to television. Coffee shop conversations, workplace discussions, and family dinner tables buzzed with questions about the boundaries of professionalism and personal respect in interviews. Could an interviewer truly seek the truth without overstepping? Was it fair to put someone's legacy under such scrutiny? Amid the frenzy, Trump issued no further statements. He let his words from the interview speak for themselves, a decision that only fueled the public's fascination. His silence was not evasive, but deliberate, a reminder that sometimes restraint can make the loudest impact. In the weeks that followed, Alex Brooks addressed the interview on his show, acknowledging that he may have underestimated his guest. "I'll say this," he told his audience, "whether you agree with him or not, Donald Trump knows how to command a room." For many, the takeaway from the event was not just about Trump or Alex, but about the broader lesson of handling adversity with confidence. In an age of heated debates and viral soundbites, his composure became a rare example of rising above chaos. As the headlines faded, one thing remained clear. Moments like this remind us of the power of measured words, the strength of self-assurance, and the importance of standing firm in one's truth. If you've made it this far, we'd love to hear your thoughts. What do you think about Donald Trump's response during the interview? Do you believe Alex crossed a line, or was it a fair conversation? Let us know in the comments below. Your opinion matters. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more thought-provoking stories and engaging content. Hit that notification bell so you never miss an update. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.